Hello, and welcome to Husky Talk Conversations with Cully and Conlon. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I would like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. Procyon Partners, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz is a proud supporter of Husky Talk, and he is going to get me a Tesla any day now. We have Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump down in Florida. They offer many services, but they specialize in putting together tax plans for businesses. They will do everything they can to save you money and in some cases even get you a nice big fat return. To schedule your free strategic tax planning session today, go to greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm, located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you've suffered any type of personal injury, if you've had a slip and fall, if a construction beam fell on you at a site, if your mother-in-law tried to run you over with a car, the Finch firm is for you. Pete has fought legal battles all over the state. There isn't an insurance company that scares him. He will go to war for you and make sure you get every dollar in compensation. And we have Dynamic Human Performance, owned and operated by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He trains boys and girls of all ages, of all sports. He just recently introduced an athletic development program which takes you and whatever your sport of choice is and trains you from the ground up. He will develop you to reach your potential and be great. That is something you should definitely look into and be a part of. All you have to do is go to dynamichumanperformance.com and you can sign up. They also offer many classes throughout the day. And now for the lady of the hour, my favorite UConn women's basketball legend, Western Connecticut State University head women's basketball coach, Maria Conlon.
Morning, sir. How are you? How was your weekend?
I like your hat. Oh, it's always a great weekend when it's St. Patrick's Day, right?
Yeah, did you do anything special?
I may have had a beverage or two.
Hmm.
I've had a few cocktails. That's
There you
about
go.
it. Yeah. It was colder here, so we didn't have it wasn't a typical St. Patrick's Day parade. But, we just hope it keeps continuing to get warm and get
Yeah.
nicer, and that's all we
Is
that's all we ask.
your parade out there on Saturday or Sunday?
It was Sunday. It was
Sunday.
Sunday this
Okay.
year. Yeah. Yeah, they always keep it on Sunday because I don't think anyone would go Saturday. I think everyone's at the bars for Saturday. Nice bar crawl
Yeah.
for that's just how it is. And you obviously being of some Irish descent, right?
Yes.
Yes. So
Half Irish, half Italian.
did you have some fun on St. Patty's Day? Did your daughter?
We actually did it Saturday.
Or
St. Patrick's Day when you have young kids is not like it used to be. Saturday we went car shopping because one of our cars is the lease is up.
oh
So we spent most of the day, and then we grabbed some food with friends, and then I just chilled and watched games. And then yesterday,
yeah
so Saturday here is the Milford St. Patrick's Day Parade, which is pretty big. And then yesterday was the New Haven one, but I did not attend either. I, Honestly, I'd rather just chill at home.
Well, Maria, I mean, you've been run pretty ragged since you've taken this job and
Yeah,
having to play catch up and being on the road for games on the same day, nonetheless. and now you're on the road recruiting. So I remember those days, and anytime you get to spend at home is amazing. It just feels so special that you finally get some time to breathe and finally get some time to yourself.
Yeah, for sure. We actually had a good we had 3 commits this weekend, so it's a good
Oh, that's great.
yeah, it was a good recruiting weekend for us. So that was exciting because you're kind of in limbo until you start getting some. We still have a couple of more that need to decide and visit and stuff like that. But yeah, we had 3 commits, so that was good. But you're right. I mean, um, I just love just hanging with the family and watching hoops. We watched
Yeah.
the selection shows last night.
Yeah.
Um, so that was fun. No big surprises, I didn't think, in terms of
No.
um, where we got seated on both ends. So now this week is like that. Like this week, I'll go out. This week, like, is my week to
Yes.
like Thursday, Friday. I'll be watching hoops from like 11 in the morning until midnight. So
Right. Right. See,
that's what
that would be the difference with me. When I coach, I would rather watch Titanic than watch a football game.
Oh yeah, no,
I never wanted to watch football.
no,
Um, I just I because I don't know if it works the same way with you, but with me, if I watch a football game, I can't watch it without being a coach. Like I can't turn it off and just like be a fan and watch it. It's always like, oh, they're doing this, so they should be doing that. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe they did this, and I was unable to shut it off, and I wish I could, so I could just watch it as a fan,
yeah.
and that was always frustrating.
I
But it's
watch it. I do watch it a little bit like a coach, but I watch it in terms of like I just try to learn. So I put myself in the coach's shoes and like what adjustments would I make, or if they did something that I didn't think of, I try to take note of that. So but this is the best time of year in my opinion. So
oh yeah, yeah, it is
I
for
mean, March
sure.
March Madness is the greatest sporting event. Sorry for all the football fans, but like 3 weeks of nonstop basketball is just like it doesn't get any better. The upsets, the everything.
No, it is by far the best sports experience for college basketball. It generates the most revenue for the NCAA compared to anything else. And, unlike football, there are a lot more Cinderella stories, which is nice, to see because
Yep.
football, the gap is widening and widening. And basketball is too, but basketball, you're always one hot shooting night away from losing. So there's always that chance that something could happen. Um, Starting with the women, if you were going through the bracket, what would you say was the biggest surprise that kind of shocked you?
Um, I don't know. I was surprised that South Carolina didn't get the overall number 1 seed.
I was too. I thought
Um,
after winning the SEC that they would get it for sure.
yeah, I was surprised by that. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you're going to have to play, really good teams no matter where you're seated. But I thought, I mean, looking at South Carolina's bracket, uh, I still think they have a pretty easy path to get to,
They do.
um, the championship. So, that's not so bad. I actually thought, what was it that, I think Texas has the hardest route as a number 1 right now.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I was surprised Notre Dame fell to a 3 seed. Um,
Yeah.
they're in that bracket. So, you know, I was definitely surprised by that. Outside of that, it's kind of it is what it is at this point. You're
Yeah.
going to have to beat good teams. to get there. I do think we're going to see on the women's side more early upsets than we've seen in the past. Like I feel like on the women's side, you can pretty much always pick the higher seed at least all the way until like the Elite Eight,
Right.
and
Right.
then it's kind of up in the air. I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think there's a lot of really good teams throughout the whole bracket. You know, you have like Vandy as an 8 seed. Um, I could see them winning 2 games. So I think we'll see a lot more of that this year, which will be exciting. Um, but outside of that, I mean, I like where UConn's at. I think, you know, they're in a bracket with USC, which obviously they beat us early on, but
Mhm. But
we're a
we're
much
a better
different team
team.
now than we were then. So, um, you know, out of the number 1 seeds, I kind of was happy with that in terms of who we got matched up against. But,
Yeah.
you know, you just never know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just never know.
It's always tough. And I mean, at least we have the luxury of playing in stores for the first 2 games,
Yeah.
which I think is going to make a difference. What did you think? I mean, obviously UConn's play overall in the Big East tournament. I mean, they ran through it. Other than USC, if you're looking at the brackets, who do you think that could give them trouble in their initial bracket?
I mean, they'll probably see Oklahoma State in the second round.
Right.
You know, they're feisty. They got some good guards. And then you know, really after that, I mean, like I said, I mean, I love the lower bracket for us. I mean, they got Arkansas State to start. Like I
Yep.
said, I think Oklahoma State will win that first game. So they'll either see Iowa or Oklahoma
Oklahoma.
in
Right.
the Sweet 16. And I think that'll be a really good game. I mean, you know, assuming that um, who is Oklahoma playing first? I got to pull this up here. Like,
Gulf Coast.
oh, Florida Gulf Coast. Florida
Yeah.
Gulf Coast is always pretty good.
Yeah. They are.
They,
They're
they
pretty.
play they play really hard. It's their first time there underneath this new head coach. But we'll probably see an Oklahoma Iowa game, and then the winner of that will obviously play UConn. So I like our odds on both of those. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think we're in a really good spot, but
Yeah.
we gotta continue to play well. I think you can catch anyone on a hot night right now. So I think our first true test will be, you know, in the Sweet 16. That's just in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we'll be out where in Spokane, I think we got put. So
Yeah. Yeah. We're in Spokane.
traveling out west. So
Jeez.
yeah.
That I couldn't believe, and I know Joe D got a little irritated with me, but the way that they set it up, this has been in place for several years now.
What is this? This is it's
20
either the third or
2025.
fourth. It's either the third or fourth year that
And
they've done it this
it
way.
was there, I mean, was it purely just because of money that they did it?
I think it was
Or
money. I also think it was a little bit of COVID in the beginning, right? Like just not as many
right,
areas.
right,
Um, but it definitely saves them money having, you know, more teams in one location.
one location.
So, you know, definitely a decent money play there. But yeah, like if you look at Texas's bracket, I mean, they got Illinois and Creighton as the 8-9 there.
Yep.
They got Tennessee as the 5 seed, Ohio State as the 4, Notre Dame as the 3, and then TCU as the 2 seed. I
Yeah.
personally see that as the
They
toughest overall bracket.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was happy we didn't land there. You know, which originally that's where we were projected to land was the 2 seed
Birmingham.
in Texas's bracket. So
Correct. I did see that.
yeah.
Um, and I did check out Vanderbilt a little bit, and they really surprised me. I had no idea they were as talented as they were. Um, and Vanderbilt isn't a school that I would think has a ton of NIL money either. Would you? Do you think they're bringing in money to get top players?
You know, I don't think so, right? They don't have a really strong football program.
No.
You know, Shay, this is her 4th year there.
Oh, right. That's right,
She's
Shay.
kind of getting them back on the map here. She landed a couple of, 5-star recruits. I think she's doing a really good job there. But yeah, no, I mean, but it's Nashville. Like it's not a bad place to go and have a
Oh,
great
Nashville's fun.
experience.
Yeah,
You know,
Nashville's a good
so
time.
I don't think it's like a terrible place to recruit to. Um, and she's phenomenal. She's just a great person and a great coach. So, why would you not want to go play for Shea Ralph? I don't know.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, I mean
Absolutely.
they got Oregon to open up. I don't think that'll be a cupcake of a game, but I think they'll win it. And then they'll play Duke probably in that second round. Um,
Right.
Duke's playing really, really well. They won the ACC tournament pretty handily. Um, so I think that'll be a really key second round matchup. Like that's one I definitely have marked off to make sure that I watch. So
What are your feelings on UCLA? I mean, are they? Do you see them as the clear cut number one overall? I mean, do you think they're the best in the land?
no, I don't. I don't think they're. I don't think it's clear cut. Um,
Right.
I mean, USC took them down to the wire.
Yeah.
I think honestly, I think any four. I shouldn't say any four. I think USC, South Carolina, or UCLA. If any of the three of them were the overall number one, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think Texas did enough to get that, but I think South Carolina or UCLA really put up a good argument to get that overall number one seed. Um, UCLA winning the Big Ten definitely put them up there. I think they're going to be tough to beat. They got some really nice pieces, but I've been saying that all year. Lauren Betts is, in my opinion, the best post player in the country.
She is. She
Um,
she she is unbelievable.
she does a little bit of everything, and they got some nice pieces on the perimeter. So,
Um, I wanted to ask you because I saw a funny story on the 3-on-3 league we've been talking about, Unrivaled, and Angel Reese was clashing with their coach, which I found humorous. And I watched her during the WNBA season, and she definitely is a character, and she's animated, and she's passionate, and she plays hard, and she's very talented. But I just, not to knock 3-on-3. It's a 3-on-3 league. You're not playing for all the marbles, and I mean she gets fired up really, really fast. And I know it's great to play with enthusiasm, passion, and get heated, but she seems to be able to go off at a moment's notice, and that can be difficult to coach. Because I saw her coach, like, trying to talk to her, trying to calm her down. How would you handle a situation like that if you just had a player who was combative and could lose her temper fast and just lose control?
yeah, I mean, I think that that's part of her game, right? She's
Yeah,
super emotional. She's really competitive. I think in normal circumstances, it's never a bad thing to have both of those qualities, so long as they're not affecting the outcome of games, right? I think that when you cross over into the world of technicals and putting your team or whatever in a rough situation, it's a little harder. Um, I think that there's definitely better ways to channel that emotion and that competitive energy. It's definitely got to be a struggle as a coach to kind of rein that in.
yeah,
I don't have what the clear path answer is on that. I've dealt with one kid like that years ago, and sometimes it's just benching them, right? Because the one thing they want to do is they want to play. So you take that away, maybe you can invoke a little bit of a different reaction from them. But I also think that with her, that's what makes her good
special. Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, She's the type of kid you'd rather have on your team versus play against,
Oh, absolutely.
you know? So I don't know. I mean,
Absolutely.
she's still young. She's still got a
Yeah,
lot
she
of growth
is
to do.
very young.
So, hopefully she'll be able to get that in check and channel it in a different way.
Yeah. I did watch some of the Unrivaled league, and I concur with what you had been saying about playing 3-on-3 full court. It just it doesn't look the same, and it can look a little. It just looks messy, running up and down, up and down, up and down, and there's just not enough people out there to warrant using a full court. Do you think that could be an adjustment they may look at for next season, going to a half court model?
Yeah, I mean, and I've mentioned this before, like to me, what it has basically turned into is just full court 3-on-3. It's just fast breaking.
That's all it is. Yeah.
It's just, whoever gets the rebound gets the outlet quick enough. So to me, it's not the pure 3-on-3 that you see like in the Olympics, like
Right.
that's truly a half court. And I like that better because you have to use more, 3-on-3 offensive sets, screens, reads, things of that nature. When you add the full court, you're really just kind of getting into a fast break game. So I hope it's something that they'll look at. I'm not sure because I do think that their ratings have been decent.
Yeah.
I just don't know how sustainable it is to keep it, you know, the way that it is now.
Yeah. As far as you mentioned recruiting. You got three people who committed and signed. Were they were obviously three kids who had already applied to the school. They came on their visits. They met with you. How has that been? Because it's obviously a transition from, from high school when you're dealing with parents and where you're dealing with college recruits. Planning out a recruiting visit. Do they come for an overnight, or do they come for a weekend? How does it work?
So at the NCAA, you get at our level, you get 24 hours. So it really just
Oh, okay.
depends on when they get on campus. Like we have a recruit coming next weekend. She'll get there around like 5:30 on Friday, which means she has to leave by 5:30 on Saturday. Doesn't mean she has to stay the full 24 hours, but yeah, typically we like them to come up, spend the day. It's a little harder when it's out of season
Yeah.
because, it's not like they can see a game or see practice. Um, but we like to have them spend some time with the girls, get to know their personalities and things of that nature. Get
Do
a
you like to keep them overnight?
Yeah, I think it's nice because you take them for a little bit and you spend some time doing your thing, but what's really important is for them to get to know the kids that they'd be
Yeah.
potentially playing with, and just make sure that they feel comfortable and that they fit in with the culture. So I do like to do the overnight. I do think it makes a difference when they get to spend an extended amount of time with the kids.
Yeah. No, I agree. And how many spots in total are you looking to fill, if you can, this
Um,
offseason?
I think if we can, I think if it really depends, right, on which commits we get.
Right.
We have 12 kids returning, so a good 6 or 7 would be perfect. If we get more than that, great. Um, but I would say 6 at the minimum, so we're halfway there.
Right.
Uh, like I said, we're waiting on a bunch of different other kids to just get FAFSA stuff back and all that, just so they could see the full package of what they're getting before they commit. So yeah, just patiently waiting for a couple of the ones that we have earmarked that we really like, and
Yeah.
we'll go from there.
And have you been doing the majority of the recruiting? Because I know you had been on the road. Is it more USO than your assistants, or do your assistants still, are they able to go out as well?
Yeah, so I have one assistant who's done a lot of recruiting with me this year. Um, so he'll there's been some kids that I've seen and like I'll just talk to and that I'm kind of courting, if you will.
Yes.
And then he has some that, he'll identify and then he'll bring to me. I'll always be a part of it no matter what.
Right.
I do think it makes a difference when the head coach gets involved. So,
Big
um,
difference.
eventually it's kind of like a gradual handoff to me. Um, but I've done a lot of identifying those kids myself. I have a pretty good pulse on the tri-state area in terms of kids. So,
Oh, absolutely.
that's been helpful this year as well.
Because I mean, that's what you're familiar with. That's where you've coached, so
Yeah.
you know the area well. Looking at the men's tournament bracket, were there any surprises that you saw there? Obviously, Duke with the injury they had to Cooper Flag, they still managed to win and get the 1 seed. Auburn having the 1 seed as well. UConn ended up kind of where we expected, being the 8 seed. And I think it was Houston and Florida were the other two number 1 seeds. Were you surprised at all with how they picked?
I was a little surprised Auburn got the overall 1 seed.
Yeah.
They lost in the semifinals of
Yep.
the SEC tournament. So I was a little surprised by that, but they had a great year. Duke, I thought would have maybe gotten the overall 1 seed. They were
Right.
able to win the ACC even without Cooper Flag. I heard yesterday he'll be back for the NCAA tournament. So
Yeah.
that's a positive. I mean, Duke looked really good. Even without him, they looked really, really good. They're talented. I got to watch Florida a lot over the weekend.
Yeah.
I think the UConn men have a really tough road. As I think, they got Oklahoma,
Oklahoma. Yeah.
who's good. I think they're beatable. I'm not saying that they're not. They're not as big, but Florida's big. They got shooters. They got some really talented perimeter players. So I think that will be a really tough second round game for us.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a tough matchup for them.
yeah, I was surprised that North Carolina got in.
I was shocked at that. That one
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
didn't
get.
think that they would. I mean, I know they have to play in the play-in game, but I still was even surprised that they made it to that. I thought there were other teams that um, could have made a better case than they did. I just didn't think that they did enough to get in. But you know, what do
Well,
I know? I'm not
I
on the
think
NCAA committee.
no, I know, and it's funny that their AD or their president is one of the chairmans of the committee, so I'm
Yep.
sure that carries some weight. But
Yeah.
when I think of an 11 seed, I think of someone that really earned their spot, someone from a smaller conference that should get that 11th spot. The ACC really doesn't need North Carolina to be an 11 seed. Now I get they had a great run in the tournament, but maybe seed them differently and give that spot to someone from a smaller conference. That was my only gripe. I didn't think putting them as an 11 was necessarily fair.
Yeah. I mean, I think if they had beaten Duke in the semifinals, I would have been like, okay,
Yeah,
all right, maybe they got it, which they could have if they didn't have a lane violation at the end of the game. That was kind of nutty.
that was
Um,
crazy.
but hey, it doesn't really matter how much you lose by, you still lost. So yeah, that was one of the ones that I was very surprised about on the men's side. Outside of that, I was good with everything.
Were
Uh,
you surprised the SEC got 14 teams in?
no,
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 no. I mean
no. I mean,
they
we did on
had
the women's side too. I
strength.
think it was either 13 or 14.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's just crazy. That's
Yeah, and
just
I think too, like we have to remember that, like with the merging of some of these other leagues into some of these
yeah.
other, like, okay, so if they got 14, maybe that's 4 or 5 that would have made it had the leagues all stayed the same. You could say the same thing about the Big Ten,
Right.
right? Like the Big Ten's going to get a ton because they merged. Hopefully we can see the Big East merge into something else.
We hope so.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I was not surprised.
And St. John's got the number 2 seed.
Yep.
Do you see them being able to make a run? Do you see them being able to compete if they get to a final game with Florida to go to the Final Four?
I think Florida would be a really, really tough matchup for them.
Yeah,
If I was a betting person, I would say that Florida would win that game if that's where it ended up. Um, I think St. John's is going to have a couple of other tougher games before that. I always say like it's hard to go and win like your league tournament and then still be caught on fire for the NCAA tournament.
right.
You have less rest than the people who went out a little bit earlier. Um, so I do think that that's usually a little bit more rare. But if I saw Florida and St. John's matched up to go to the Final Four, I would put my money on Florida.
And especially playing teams that you're not familiar with, teams that you haven't seen before.
Yep.
That always plays a big part in it. So I completely understand that. I was like Joe had mentioned the Ivy League getting 3 schools in. I thought that was fun to see
Yep.
because that's going to be interesting to see if any of them make a run and go far. If uh, if you're looking at the men's bracket and the men's tournament, and you had to pick somewhat of a sleeper team that could go to the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight that probably would not be expected to, who would you see being able to do that?
Oof. That's a tough one. I mean, you got Liberty and Oregon in that 5-12 game. Liberty's really good. I like them.
Yep.
I could see High Point winning a game. I know some people
Yep.
can't. I could see them beating Purdue in the first round. Um, I don't know. Then after that, they would play, I think it's Clemson if Clemson beats McNeese.
Yes.
I could see High Point winning 2 games. Um, Drake is another one. That's another 5-12 match or 6-11, I think. They're
Right.
playing Missouri. That's going to be a great first round game. I think Missouri's really good, but I think Drake is really good as well. So I could see Drake winning that game and beating Texas Tech in the second round. So I guess those would be the ones that I would say.
What did you think of BYU?
Yeah, I like BYU. Who are they playing in that first round? That one,
VCU.
yeah, I could see them beating. Well, VCU is the lower seed then, right? Because I think BYU is the sixth
Yes.
seed.
Yeah. BYU's the 6.
Yeah, and then they would play who? Like probably Wisconsin in that second round.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
I could see BYU. I think that they'll beat VCU, and I could see them beating Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That one's not as big of an upset to me as some of the other ones.
Right. Right.
Because you got a 6 versus 3 in that second round. So,
And
you
then
know,
the other team I heard mentioned, obviously, was St. Mary's. Do you think St. Mary's can defeat Vanderbilt and have a snowball's chance against Alabama?
I think they could beat Vanderbilt. I don't know that they could beat
I didn't think they could beat
Alabama.
Alabama.
I think Alabama's really good.
Yeah.
If they do, it'll be a huge upset. I would say Alabama goes to the Sweet 16 there.
The team that I would love to see make a big run would be Houston, because they haven't had the best tournaments lately. I'd love to see them go on a run and get to the Final Four and do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, another really good first round game to keep your eye on is that Gonzaga Georgia game because I think
Yes,
that can
yeah,
go either way, and Houston's got to play one of them in the second round. So that's going to be a tough second round game for them. I almost in a lot of ways, it's like the 1 seed gets screwed a little bit because I think that you get these Power Four schools that end up in that 8-9
in
game,
the 8-9 game, yeah,
and it's just a tough second round game for the number 1 seed. Whereas like if you look at who is it, Tennessee in that bracket. So Tennessee, I'm assuming they beat what is it, Wofford. they would play either UCLA or Utah State in their second game, and I think Tennessee beats either one of those teams pretty handily.
You had a comment from Afsar Ahim Abir, who said that you are amazing and beautiful.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
so you have a fan who enjoys your insight,
Perfect.
especially. Yeah, that's great. Especially, I mean, UConn with the way they are playing, and they're catching fire at the right time. Do you think that they can come out of uh, and be a Final Four team in Spokane?
Yeah.
They're more than
I mean,
capable.
I think UConn's capable of winning the whole thing.
I do too. Yeah,
Um, I think that both tournaments this year, both the men and the women, I think that when you look at it, there's like 8 teams on both sides that I could see winning the whole thing,
yeah. There's no clear
which
cut.
is really awesome to see. Like in years past, specifically on the women's side, you could kind of see like pretty much how it's going to go. I just don't think that we have that anymore. I think that we're going to see some big upsets. I think that like Fairfield, they just won the MAC. I forget who they're playing in the first round. They're really, really good. I could see them winning 1 or 2 games on the girls' side and surprising some people. I know they're in UConn's bracket, um, and I think they're on
Oh,
the upper part of it, so I don't think they're on the lower part with them. Um, but I could see them going for like I just think that this is going to be a really, really fun tournament. Like I'm going to make sure that I get really good sleep tonight, really good sleep tomorrow, really good sleep Wednesday, because I think Thursday through Monday, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's just going to be a ton of really good games. So
Right.
I'm prepared to just not sleep for 4 days. I'm good.
And I wanted to mention to you one of the other shows I do is with a guy by the name of Frank. I can't remember if I had you on with him before. He purchased this incredible um, tool. It's called a super box. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
He bought a super box. This super box basically gives you every channel in the country. It gives you Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, all that stuff too. And you can add whatever you want. But if you want to watch the local news in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, you can.
All right.
So
I'm not
all
sure
you have,
if Cedar Rapids, Iowa interests me, but
no, I know. I'm just saying. Uh,
Oh,
it
the
was
super
two.
box. Okay.
Yeah, it was two.
Just like it like are all the subscriptions already baked into it, or do you still have to buy all the subscriptions in addition to
No,
the
you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to buy anything.
super
You
box?
download the apps, but you don't need subscriptions to anything.
Interesting.
Because I was over and I was watching with him, um, and we watched one of the UFC pay-per-views for free. I just thought it was amazing. I was like, "Are you kidding?" And it's $250, but all you need it's a one-time payment and all you need is internet access. So you just would pay for internet, you hook up your super box, and you get absolutely everything.
Hmm.
Because he was just sick and tired of the rising costs of cable, and he had Direct TV, he had Dish at one point, and it just kept getting more and more. And now, especially with like the NFL, playing games on Peacock and Prime and the NFL Network. He was just tired of it, and I guess he did some research and he looked up this super box, and he got it, and I was just amazed. I was amazed. The UFC show that we watched, there were several complaints of glitches, and we didn't have one. So I really think that it's going to be a huge purchase. It's going to be a huge benefit to anyone who wants to completely cut the cord and save some money. Um, the last thing I had wanted to ask you was about the Division 3 tournament. How exactly does that work? Because it's not as many teams, right?
I think it's 32 teams.
It's 32.
It goes by region. It's
Okay.
more similar to Division 2 layout,
Okay.
where like you compete in region, and then the region goes and competes against the other regions. Um, yeah,
And who ended up going from your conference?
UMass Dartmouth.
Dartmouth. That's right.
Hmm.
And do you think they'll have a chance to make a run?
No, they lost in the first round.
Oh, it's already happened.
It already
Okay.
started. Yeah, it starts earlier. Just like, Division 2, I think tonight are the East regionals. You got Bentley versus Assumption in the East regional
Yeah.
of the NCAA's, which is kind of cool because they're both from the NE10.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
they've probably already played each other 3 times this year. But yeah,
Um, are you finally, I mean, I know you have some downtime. Are you going to have at least more downtime this week? And like you said, be able to get your rest. So Thursday through Monday, you'll be good to go and ready to watch the tournament. You don't have to go
yeah. I
out
mean, I'll do like
recruiting.
I'll be working all day.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of stuff I got to do today, and then same with tomorrow. But yeah, it'll be a little bit like all the high school games are over, so like I don't have to recruit this week.
Right.
Our school is actually on spring break this week, so I don't have any workouts with the girls. Um, so it should be pretty low key. I'm just going to be catching up on some stuff and
Yeah.
getting organized and filling out my brackets and getting ready for the big show. That's it.
Did you have your exit meetings with all your girls yet?
Yeah, we did those last
You did.
week.
Okay.
Yep.
Because
Um, we
I
don't call them
remember
exit. We don't call them exit meetings. We call them
or
just postseason meetings, right? Just wrap
right,
up. Like, what do you think you did well this year? What are your goals for next year? Here's what we want you to work on, et cetera, et cetera. It's actually more just checking in on academics and grades and making sure these kids are eligible,
right,
getting what they need academically.
right. 'Cause I remember that was a big deal. And I was also curious, do you have girls that stay up during the summer and
No,
train? They all go home. Yeah,
yeah, they go home.
they all go home and train.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, it was great catching up with you and hearing some of your predictions and um, what you liked about the seedings and where you see some of these teams going. And I'm sure Joe will be back Wednesday, a ball of fire, with some of his opinions on where he sees UConn going. It was just just so I know, what did you think of the end of the Creighton game um, with
oh, the dog.
the dunk heard around the world?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it was tacky, right? I think under normal circumstances, no one would disagree that it's tacky. It was also really tacky what we did when we were out in Creighton. So I think it was a little bit of, there's
Uh,
definitely a little bit of animosity there um, between the two programs. So I wasn't surprised. I mean, the guy came on first thing he did in the post game was apologize, but I do think that there was some heatedness from everything
there
that happened
was,
at Creighton. So
there
yeah,
was that cracked me up. That
yeah,
cracked me up. I was like, hey, you don't want a windmill dunk on you. Don't be losing by 7 at the end of the game. It's as
yeah,
simple
agreed.
as that.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. I just have to thank our sponsors at Fresh Fold Laundry Company, owned by Fresh himself, Ned Von Young, located in Carborough, North Carolina. They have incredible services, online scheduling for washers and dryers. They have a subscription model, weekly or bi weekly, so you can do your laundry. They're just outside of Chapel Hill. They offer specials and deals for any college students who are interested. and they are looking to expand. So please go to their website at freshfold-laundry.com and see everything they have to offer. Razul Wallace is having a fundraising charity dinner. It's on April 19th, 6:30 p.m. It's for his House of Changes. He's trying to raise money for the House of Changes. And it's going to be an amazing event. It's for a great cause. The House of Changes has beds available. They are working with recovering addicts to try to help them get their lives back, get them back on their feet. He just hired a social worker, a case manager, and a mental health counselor to work with them. And, he's looking to keep them there for 2 years tops and reward them for doing everything they need to do. And the best part of it, your keynote speaker is none other than myself, Steve Cully. So you get the benefit of hearing me talk. For Maria Conlon, UConn legend, Western Connecticut State women's basketball head coach, I am Steve Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life.